said, guys, I want the winner of this fight versus Shushu Carrington, all right? Like, at this point, we got Teofimo versus Shakur Stevenson in the first part, and we as boxing fans should not be like we're lucky, okay? Yes, we are grateful, but this should be the norm. The best fighting the best, all right? Boom! Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today, I'm gonna give my fight prediction between the upcoming fight with Nick Ball and Brandon Figueroa. Now, guys, this fight has the recipe for an all-out action fight. One reason is because Brandon Figueroa doesn't know how to fight any other way. But I want to start off by talking about Brandon Figueroa's limitations here. Clearly, at 122, he looked like a monster. And even going up to 126 at first, he looked like he was going to be a force to be reckoned with. But his last couple fights, he hasn't been looking so good. And honestly, I didn't even think he won that fight against Joaquin Gonzalez. Although there were certain rounds that could have gone either way. A draw could have been viable. I did not like any of the scorecards. 8 rounds to 4, 9 rounds to 3. It's just, to me, that was, they didn't give Joaquin Gonzalez a chance. But with that being said, we have the fight upcoming, and every fight is different. And this time, his opponent is Nick Ball. Now, Nick Ball is a little stocky type of dude. I believe he's like 5'4", and Brandon Figueroa is way taller. You know, seeing these two guys next to each other, you're like, all right, Brandon Figueroa got the advantage. But his style of fighting, he does not have the advantage over here. But back to Nick Ball, all right? So Nick Ball throws crisp punches, has okay defense. I wouldn't say the best defense, but definitely not bad. Enough to where he can compete on this top level. He is world champion after all. And I think he throws nice, crisp combos. And one kind of bad habit, but not so bad, because he chooses when to do it. He just doesn't always choose the right time to do it. But in this case, it's going to be a lot of opportunities for him to do what he does, and that's load up on his punches. He does this thing where he just throws his whole body into these punches, and I really think this is going to work against Brandon Figueroa. One thing I will say about Brandon Figueroa, though, is that he clearly still has the gas tank to compete on this level. His best rounds in his fight against Joaquin Gonzalez was the last 2 rounds. He was just kept throwing. He was stunning him just a little bit more than he was at any point throughout the whole fight. So because of all these things I just mentioned, this is the ways I can see this fight coming down, right? Absolutely no way do I see Brandon Figueroa winning early on. He just doesn't turn his punches as much as he used to. He throws a lot of arm punches. He's going to be a voluminous puncher. Lots of volume, right? And I think Nick Ball's going to like that. He's going to have to make the choice. Am I going to stay in pocket and get the better of him throughout this whole time and potentially wear myself down? Or am I going to box on the outside a little bit and kind of mix it up, right? So if he stays in pocket and doesn't get rid of him, which is a possibility. I know Brandon Figueroa's chin has looked phenomenal throughout his whole career, but it cracks. It's the same thing happened to his older brother. So this might be the fight where his chin cracks and it will never be the same. It's tough to say, but this could be the fight for that. So if Nick Ball decides I'm going to stay in pocket and just load up on these punches, and he's going to keep throwing punches at me and I'm going to keep throwing punches at him, and he doesn't get rid of him, the most competitive parts of this fight will be the last 4 rounds. Rounds 9, 10, 11, and 12. If Nick Ball whitewashes him from the beginning and then starts to tire out, Brandon Figueroa might have an opportunity to, steal a couple rounds. And if that's the case, that might help Nick Ball's case look more vulnerable, because he looked a little bit vulnerable versus Sam Goodman, and he'll look a little vulnerable here. People will start talking, he might be past it, right? So that's one way this fight could play out. Another way this fight could play out is Nick Ball just steamrolls this guy, man. Brandon Figueroa's chin does not hold up anymore, and he gets TKO'd. And there's a part of me that thinks that's a possibility. There really is. The only way Brandon Figueroa can win this fight is if we go back to the first part of my prediction, where he starts getting competitive at the later rounds after Nick Ball kind of tires out, which Nick Ball does not have a bad gas tank. He fights very well for 12 rounds. I just think that this is the only thing Brandon Figueroa might have an edge on, is his gas tank, his stamina, his cardio. You know what I'm saying? His conditioning. And it's always been good. And there's a little wild card I want to throw in here, right? I know he's been training with Nobles, right? And this is a new trainer for him. And the last time they trained together was for the Joet Gonzalez fight, and that was their first fight together. So sometimes with certain fighters, especially non-athletic fighters like Brandon Figueroa, sometimes it takes a little bit for you to get accustomed to a certain coaching style or a different coach to bring out the best out of you, right? So we're gonna assume, hey, you know what? He fought not that long ago. I believe it was in July when he last fought, late July too. So, 6 months later, maybe some more time with his trainer. Maybe we're gonna get a better version of Brandon Figueroa, right? Maybe Figueroa is gonna be turning a little more in his punches. Maybe he'll use his jab a little bit better. I remember in the fight with Joet Gonzalez, the corner kept telling him, hey, use that jab. Everything starts off with a jab. But he wasn't really using the jab. Even when he was throwing the jab, he was using the jab just to close the distance. He wasn't really trying to stick it to him. You know what I'm saying? So it's just hard for me to envision Brandon Figueroa changing up enough to be competitive enough to win this fight. There's certain things he could change up. I just can't see him avoiding Nick Ball's humongous power punches. Especially when Nick Ball starts loading up, it might be a wrap for Brandon Figueroa. And if his chin hasn't cracked, the corner might have to be like, yo, bro, like at this point, you're not ducking and dodging no punches, which we know he's not. We know he's not going to be ducking and dodging these punches. So with that being said, guys, I'm thinking Nick Ball, unanimous decision, potential TKO, whether it's his chin cracks or the corner stops it. Nick Ball by domination. I can't give you a specific one. If I had to choose one, unanimous decision. If I had to choose one, right? I just don't want to eliminate the possibility of a TKO at this point in Brandon Figueroa's career, because he's not going to be the same. This is probably the biggest puncher he's fought in a very long time. Probably last time he fought someone like this was Luis Neri, but that was more when Brandon Figueroa was at his prime, and we know he's not there anymore. We know he takes these punches head on. Oh, man. Late TKO maybe. Unanimous decision if you want to bank on it. Being said, guys, I want the winner of this fight versus Shushu Carrington, all right? Like at this point, we got Teofimo versus Shakur Stevenson in the first part, and we as boxing fans should not be like we're lucky, okay? Yes, we are grateful, but this should be the norm. The best fight and the best, all right? Carrington versus the winner of this fight. I'm calling for it. I'm asking for it. Let's get it, all right, guys? If you like boxing, if you like talking about boxing, and you disagree with my predictions, please leave a comment, share this to somebody who's a Nick Ball and freaking Brandon Figueroa fan. Until the next one, guys, I'm out, all right?